A gentle turning point after 50. What truly matters now. There comes a moment, quiet but undeniable, when you no longer chase what you used to. Not because you've given up, but because, somewhere deep within, you've started to understand what truly matters. Perhaps you've just crossed that invisible threshold, the age of 50. Or maybe you're well into your 60s, even your 70s. Wherever you are on that path, one truth becomes more and more clear: the second half of life is not meant to be a continuation of the first. It's meant to be something altogether wiser, softer, more honest. And yet, many of us carry forward the same burdens we once believed were necessary. We continue to build. We continue to plan. We continue to exhaust ourselves out of habit, fear, or a sense of duty without ever asking, do I still need to be doing this? Today, I invite you to pause with me, to sit in the warmth of a conversation made just for you, to listen not just with your ears, but with your heart. Because in this video, we'll explore a deeply human idea that has echoed through centuries of wisdom, a saying quietly passed down by those who came before us. At 50, do not build a house. At 60, do not plant a tree. At 70, do not sew a new coat. What may sound like a simple rule of thumb about aging is actually a doorway into something much more profound: a roadmap to peace, a guide to letting go, and an invitation to live the rest of your years with intention, not just repetition. We'll uncover why these age-old principles still hold meaning in our modern world. We'll explore the difference between productivity and purpose. And, near the end, I will share with you one of the most moving stories I've ever heard: a story of a mother, her bag of rice, and a love so deep it rewrote her son's future. If you're someone who's ever asked, have I done enough? Or is it too late to enjoy life? Or can I still matter, even if I stop doing so much? Then stay with me. This message was made for you. And if this voice speaks to something within you, I gently encourage you to subscribe to our channel and watch until the very end, because what we are about to walk through may just shift the way you see yourself, your time, and your worth. Let's begin this journey together, softly, wisely, and with the grace that only time can teach. 1. At 50, do not build a house. The hidden wisdom of knowing when to stop. Let me ask you something simple but not easy. When was the last time you gave yourself permission to stop? To not start another project, to not push through the exhaustion, to not prove anything to anyone, not even yourself. Because after 50, the hardest work is not in what you build, but in what you choose to stop building. This is where our journey begins with an old saying. At 50, do not build a house. Now, on the surface, this may sound like practical advice, something about not taking on a large, expensive project too late in life. But underneath those words lies a river of ancient wisdom. This saying dates back to a time when building a house wasn't about hiring a construction crew. It meant sweat, brick, stone, and bone. It meant months, sometimes years of labor, often done by hand. For someone at 30 or 40, it was possible. For someone at 50, it could cost them the very strength they were trying to build around. But this isn't just about homes. It's about knowing when to let go of the urge to construct, to prove, to climb, especially when the world has taught us that our worth is measured by what we accomplish. You see, for much of our lives, we are builders. We build families. We build careers. We build reputations, homes, businesses, networks, and dreams. But eventually, we reach a point where more building no longer serves us. In fact, it begins to break us. At 50, the body speaks more clearly. Your energy changes. Your priorities shift. The foundation you poured in your younger years is mostly set, whether it's perfect or not. And continuing to build with the same intensity you once had can lead to depletion, not fulfillment. So when we say, at 50, do not build a house, what we are really saying is, choose rest over race. Choose clarity over ambition. Choose presence over progress. We are not saying don't grow. We are saying grow differently. Grow inward. Grow in wisdom, in stillness, in appreciation. Let your life become a place to dwell, not a structure to finish. The trap of one more thing. Many people in their 50s are still chasing something: one more goal, one more property, one more investment, one more accomplishment to complete the picture. But what they don't see is how often that last thing becomes the one thing that steals their peace. You might know someone like that, someone who poured their savings, their energy, even their relationships into building something at 50 or 60, only to lose the time they had left enjoying what truly mattered. The truth is, our later years are not for empire building. They are for soul repairing. And often, it takes more courage to step back than to charge forward. Aging gracefully means knowing when to stop. There's a hidden power in restraint, in knowing you could do more, but you choose not to. At 50, that power begins to blossom. It's the ability to say, I don't need a bigger house to feel secure. I don't need to climb a new ladder to feel successful. I don't need to leave behind a monument, I just need to leave behind peace. You see, sometimes the legacy we leave is not in the walls we build, but in the warmth we create inside them. Cultural reflection, the burden of leaving something behind. In many cultures, especially in Asia and parts of Europe, there is pressure to leave something tangible behind for your children. A home, land, inheritance, furniture, gold, a name. But too often, that pressure becomes a quiet burden. Parents work into their 60s and 70s trying to leave something for the children, while their own health, joy, and peace slowly disappear. What if we reframed that? What if your greatest gift wasn't the house, but the presence? What if your children would rather remember you laughing over dinner than exhausted under a pile of cement and paperwork? What if the home they carry in their hearts matters more than the one you try to leave in their hands? Because here's a truth most people realize too late. The most beautiful homes are not made of brick. They are made of memory. When the house becomes a battlefield. There's another layer to this wisdom family conflict. Too many stories end like this. A parent builds a house in their 50s or 60s. They pour every drop of effort into making it perfect. But after they're gone, the very thing they hoped would unify their family becomes the source of division. Siblings argue. Property is fought over. Wills are questioned. Resentment brews. Suddenly, what was meant to be a blessing becomes a wound. This is why the elders of old said at 50, do not build a house. Not because building is wrong, but because they understood that sometimes the things we leave behind can cause more pain than joy. If you've built already, wonderful. Enjoy it. Live fully in it. But if you haven't, ask yourself honestly. Do I need to build more? Or do I need to build less and live more? 2 at 60, do not plant a tree. Learning to let go of tomorrow. There is something deeply beautiful about planting a tree. It's an act of faith. A gesture of hope. A quiet promise to the future. But what if there comes a time in life when the most loving thing you can do is not to plant one more seed, but to simply sit under the shade that already exists? That's what this next ancient teaching invites us to consider. At 60, do not plant a tree. At first, it may sound discouraging. Why wouldn't you plant a tree at 60? Isn't it never too late to dream? Isn't growth still possible? Yes, growth is always possible. But this proverb isn't about trees. It's about priorities. Because at 60, the question shifts from, what can I still build for the future? To, what can I fully enjoy right now? The illusion of time. When we are young, we plant with abandon. We plan, invest, schedule, strive. We pour into long-term goals and wait patiently for results. And that's right at that time of life. But after 60, life asks a different question. How much time do you really want to spend waiting for something to grow, when you could already be sitting in peace? Because planting a tree at 60 might mean starting a new business that will take 10 years to mature, committing to a project that needs your full energy over a long period, or investing in something that might not return until it's too late to enjoy. It doesn't mean these things are wrong, but they come with a cost. And after 60, that cost is often your health, your energy, your time, and your presence. The gentle weight of the body. Let's speak honestly. At 60, your body changes. It doesn't recover like it used to. Your joints ache more than they used to. Your energy isn't infinite like before. Even a small accident, a fall, a sprain, an infection can take far longer to heal, sometimes with lifelong consequences. So the question becomes, is the act of planting worth the risk, when the harvest may never be yours to enjoy? There's a wisdom in this that our modern, success-driven world often forgets. Just because you can, doesn't mean you should. Maybe the most generous gift you can give at this stage is not effort but your calm. Not another seed but your smile. Not another plan but your time, fully present with those you love. Harvesting, not sowing. There's a quiet dignity in turning your energy from sowing to harvesting. This is the time to reap the joy from your relationships. Watch your children and grandchildren blossom. Take pride in the lessons you've passed on. Enjoy the rest you've long postponed. Spend your mornings with tea, your afternoons with music, your evenings with stories. Let the garden you've tended for decades now feed you, not the other way around. Let others plant. Let others grow. Let others dream big dreams. You've earned the right to simply be. The danger of overdoing. You see, many seniors continue planting not because they want to, but because they feel they should. They feel guilty resting. They feel lazy if they say no. They fear being seen as unproductive. So they keep going. They take on one more commitment, one more financial risk, one more community project, one more renovation, one more favor, one more trip that leaves them utterly exhausted. And little by little, they lose their strength. But here's the truth. There is no glory in burning out. There is no wisdom in collapsing from effort. There is no honor in being everything for everyone, and nothing for yourself. If you are 60 and tired, you are allowed to rest. If you are 60 and content, you are allowed to stop. If you are 60 and quiet, you are not invisible, you are wise. The modern misunderstanding of purpose. Purpose is not the same as pressure. You can live a deeply meaningful life without planting one more tree. Maybe your purpose now is to listen more than speak, to hug more than direct, to enjoy more than sacrifice. Because here's the truth, trees planted at 60 often bear fruit at 80 or beyond. And not everyone is given that time. So why not spend this season appreciating the blossoms that are already here? Why not finally enjoy the life you've worked so hard to prepare? Why not look at the sunset not as the end of something but as the reward? 3 at 70, do not sew a new coat, the quiet freedom of letting things be. There's something tender, almost poetic about the act of sewing. It's patient. It's detailed. It's the work of someone who still believes the fabric is worth mending, reshaping, recreating. But there comes a time in life when even sewing becomes unnecessary. Not because you no longer care, but because you've come to understand that you no longer need more layers to protect you, prove yourself, or carry on. That's the deep wisdom behind the ancient saying. At 70, do not sew a new coat. On the surface, it might sound like advice to avoid unnecessary work. But on a deeper level, this message speaks to something profoundly spiritual. There comes a point when you no longer need to keep preparing for life, because you are finally ready to live it. You are enough, just as you are. In your 70s, you have reached what many traditions call a long life, a blessed life. You've weathered storms, watched seasons change, and felt the slow erosion of ambition give way to something gentler. At this age, life no longer demands performance. It no longer needs you to fit in, look the part, or keep up. And yet, so many elders still feel the urge to sew a new coat metaphorically and literally. They chase new diets, new looks, new roles, new commitments. They feel restless, unfinished, or afraid of becoming invisible. So they keep stitching themselves into more tasks, more expectations, more appearances. But the truth is, you no longer need to wrap yourself in anything new. You've already woven a life of meaning. Let that be enough. Let your soul breathe without the pressure of another button to fasten, another patch to fix. Let the unfinished be holy. Let the simple be sacred. The body has earned its rest. Physically, sewing a coat requires time, energy, eyesight, steadiness of hand. At 70, these things change. Your back may ache after sitting too long. Your fingers may tremble. Your eyes may blur. The sharpness of youth has softened, and that's not a failure. That's nature's way of inviting you inward. Instead of sewing a coat, sew a memory. Instead of bending over fabric, lean back into stillness. Instead of trying to look right, allow yourself to simply feel whole. Because your worth now has nothing to do with productivity. It has everything to do with presence. The inner meaning of the coat. The coat in this ancient phrase doesn't just refer to clothing, it symbolizes the extra things we think we need to feel whole. A reputation, a status, a possessions, a appearances, a control. But at 70, do you really need more layers? Or is it finally time to start taking layers off? To let the world see you for who you are, not who you used to be. To let yourself walk lighter, without the weight of yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's expectations. There's a sacred freedom in that kind of exposure. When you no longer hide behind what you do. When you no longer strive to keep up appearances. When your soul finally breathes in the open air, that is the most beautiful version of yourself. A different kind of giving. Some believe sewing a new coat means continuing to give to others, making clothes, gifts, sacrifices. And while giving is noble, there's a point where giving more begins to rob you of what little energy you have left for yourself. At 70, maybe your most powerful gift is not something you make with your hands, but something you offer with your spirit. Are your stories, are your quiet wisdom, are your laughter, are your ability to sit still in a restless world, are your example of letting go. You don't have to wrap your love in effort anymore. You are the offering. You don't need to sew one more coat. You've been stitching strength into every day you've survived, every tear you've dried, every goodbye you've accepted. Let that be the final masterpiece. Let yourself wear peace instead. For after 50, you must learn to live for yourself first, reclaiming the life you put on hold. There is a quiet ache that lives in many people over 50. It doesn't always shout. It doesn't always cry. It simply waits. It waits in the silence after the children leave. It waits in the evenings when no one calls. It waits in the moments when you ask yourself, whose life have I been living all these years? Because for decades, many of us have lived for others. We lived for our parents trying to be the child they could be proud of. We lived for our children sacrificing rest, dreams, and even health. We lived for our spouses supporting, compromising, adjusting. We lived for our jobs, our roles, our reputations. And somewhere along the way, we forgot how to live for ourselves. This message is for the part of you that is still waiting. The part that wants to exhale. The part that wonders, is it too late to come home to myself? The answer, my friend, is no. It is not too late. It is never too late to begin again. The sacred shift after 50. Turning 50 is not just a number. It's a spiritual threshold. It is the moment when life gently asks, have you loved yourself yet? Have you rested enough? Have you looked in the mirror and seen a friend, not a duty? It's the season where your yes to others must be balanced by a yes to yourself. Because the truth is, if you do not choose yourself now, you may never get the chance again. Not because life is cruel, but because life is honest. Time moves forward. The years don't slow down. And the longer you wait to listen to your own voice, the quieter it becomes. So after 50, it is not selfish to put yourself first. It is survival. It is healing. It is, in the truest sense, coming home. The lies we were taught. Somewhere, we were taught that living for ourselves is wrong. That to be good, we must give. That to be kind, we must sacrifice. That to be loved, we must be useful. And while there is truth in generosity, the most dangerous belief is this: that your worth depends on what you give others. That's how people arrive at 60 or 70 with nothing left inside. They gave and gave and gave, until they forgot what it felt like to simply be. But here is the quiet truth. You are not here just to serve. You are not here just to please. You are here to experience this life fully, gently, deeply. And that experience must include your joy. Permission to be selfish? No. Permission to be whole. This isn't about becoming cold or disconnected. It's about becoming honest. Honest enough to admit when you're tired. Honest enough to say no without guilt. Honest enough to rest without apology. Honest enough to protect your peace, even if it disappoints someone else. That's not selfish. That's what wholeness looks like. You see, you've earned the right to take up space. You've earned the right to stop rushing. You've earned the right to say, I matter, too. Because you do. And if no one's told you lately, you matter beyond your usefulness. Your worth is not what you give. Your worth is who you are. Start small. Start soft. Start now. So how do you begin to live for yourself again? You start small. You wake up and ask yourself what you want to do. You make tea for no one but yourself and sit for a while, just breathing. You listen to music that moves you, not that fills the silence for someone else. You take a walk, not to lose weight, not to be healthy, but because your soul needs movement. You read, not to learn, not to achieve, but to return to wonder. You begin, again, as if for the first time. But this time, you do it for you. Not to be praised. Not to be thanked. Not to prove you're still strong. But simply because you are alive, and that, in itself, is reason enough. 5. Let go of what you can't control. The peace of surrender after 60. There's a kind of suffering that doesn't come from pain. It comes from resistance. The tension in your chest when things don't go the way you hoped. The tight grip in your hands when life keeps changing without your permission. The sleepless nights spent reliving conversations, imagining different outcomes, wondering, what could I have done differently? By the time we reach 60, most of us have collected 1,000 such moments. Moments where people misunderstood us. Moments where health failed. Moments where our children made choices we wouldn't have chosen. Moments where life simply didn't turn out the way we planned. And in our hearts, we still carry the weight of it all. The truth? Much of our suffering after 60 comes not from what happens to us, but from our refusal to accept it. This is the message I want to offer you today. Let go of what you cannot control. Not because you've given up, but because you finally understand what peace requires. The illusion of control. For decades, we were taught to take charge, to work hard, to fix problems, to plan ahead, to protect our loved ones, to manage our futures. And for a while, it worked. We built homes. We raised families. We made things happen. But life is never fully ours to manage. Illness arrives without warning. People we love walk away. Economies shift. Bodies weaken. Dreams change. Goodbyes come before we are ready. And all the control we tried to hold onto like water slips through our fingers anyway. At some point, the wisest thing you can do is stop wrestling with what you can't change. And simply say, I surrender. Not in defeat, but in grace. What happens when you let go? When you let go, something incredible happens. The body softens. The mind quiets. The heart breathes again. You begin to see the world not through the lens of fear or disappointment, but through the eyes of trust. Not everything has to make sense. Not everyone has to understand. Not every ending is a failure. Some things, perhaps many things, were never meant for you to control. They were meant for you to witness, to learn from, to walk through with courage, and then let go with compassion. You see, peace isn't the absence of hardship. It's the acceptance that you are no longer at war with life. The hidden cost of clinging. Holding on comes at a price. It costs you your sleep, your joy, your ability to feel the present moment, your relationships with the people still standing beside you, your connection to your own body, your spirit. Sometimes, we hold on out of love. Other times, we hold on out of pride. And often, we hold on because we are scared that if we let go we'll lose ourselves. But here's the truth. You are not the things you cling to. You are not your regrets. You are not your past roles, your missed opportunities, or your lost time. You are what remains when all of that falls away. And what remains is worthy. What remains is real. What remains is enough. How to begin letting go. Letting go doesn't happen all at once. It's a gentle, daily practice. Like sweeping the porch of your soul. You can begin by noticing where your thoughts go when you're alone. Do you keep returning to what someone said years ago? Do you replay an argument you never resolved? Do you silently wish a loved one would change? Do you try to rewrite the past? That is where your hands are still gripping. Now, imagine gently opening those hands. Imagine saying, I can't change what was. I can only choose what is. You can begin to let go by. Writing a letter to someone you never got closure with, then burning it. Saying out loud, I forgive you even if they're not in the room. Looking at yourself in the mirror and whispering, I'm done fighting. Releasing the need to be right and choosing to be free. And most of all, by reminding yourself, as often as necessary, this moment is enough. I am safe here. I do not need to control anything to be at peace. Surrender is not weakness. It's wisdom. The world may say, never give up. But your soul knows. Sometimes, surrender is the bravest act of all. To let your child live their own life even if you don't agree. To accept your body's limits even if you wish it were stronger. To sit in uncertainty not with fear, but with faith. To walk away from an old story you've told yourself and choose a new one. This is not giving up. This is growing up. This is the deep work of becoming fully alive. So if today finds you holding on too tightly, to control, to the past, to fear, may you loosen your grip. May you breathe a little deeper. And may you finally feel the kind of peace that only comes when nothing is holding you anymore. 6. When letting go becomes the kindest thing you can do for yourself. There are moments in life when letting go feels like losing everything. And then, there are moments when letting go becomes the most loving thing you can do. Not just for others but for yourself. Letting go of blame. Letting go of proving. Letting go of the idea that love must always look a certain way. Sometimes, the most profound form of love is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It simply shows up again and again even when no one sees it. Let me tell you a story that speaks to this truth. A story of a woman, her son, and a bag of rice. The mother and the bag of rice. In a small village, hidden among sunburnt fields and narrow dirt paths, lived a mother and her only son. Their home was nothing more than wood and tin. Their meals were simple, often skipped. But their bond was strong, built not on wealth, but on quiet sacrifice. The boy was bright, eager. He loved books more than toys. He studied by the dim light of a shared oil lamp while his mother worked in silence beside him, mending, stitching, scrubbing, planting, praying. Then came the storm no one expected. His father died suddenly, leaving behind a gaping hole not only in the family, but in their means to survive. The mother, now alone, made a vow in the stillness of grief. I will not let my son give up his education, even if I must give up everything else. The cost of a promise. Soon, the boy passed his exams and was accepted into a prestigious high school. It was an honor but also a burden. The school required a fee 15 kilograms of rice per month for student meals. It was a mountain to climb. But the mother didn't flinch. Each month, she would leave home before sunrise, walking with a limp, her leg deformed from illness. She carried a large, scratchy sack made of old jute. Inside, a humble mix of grains: white rice, red rice, rice with bits of husk, even some cracked corn when she had nothing else. She begged from neighbors, gathered leftovers from temples, bartered for scraps. She pieced together dignity from fragments of charity. Each month, she arrived at the school, exhausted and drenched in sweat, placing the sack before the teacher in charge. Shame meets love. But the teacher didn't see the sacrifice. He saw poor quality. He saw disorder. He saw a burden. One day, frustrated, he scolded her. This rice is unacceptable. It's mixed. It's low quality. What kind of mother sends her son rice like this? Her cheeks flushed with shame. Her lips trembled. But she said nothing. Instead, she quietly opened the sack and knelt down beside it. And then, without drama, she rolled up the leg of her pants, revealing the truth she had hidden for so long. A twisted limb. Skin darkened by sun and bruised by effort. A leg that could no longer support the weight of labor. She spoke, soft as wind. I don't work in the fields anymore. I can't. I go door to door. I ask for what others throw away. I walk miles with this leg to make sure my son eats. Please, don't tell him. Let him study. Let him dream. The teacher was silent. Not because he disagreed, but because he realized he had just witnessed something holy. The legacy of a bag of rice. Years passed. The boy graduated at the top of his class. He earned scholarships. He went to college. He became someone the world respected. At his final award ceremony, the principal surprised the audience. On the stage, beside the microphone, sat 3 old jute sacks. Worn. Faded. Fragile. These, he said, are the most valuable treasures in our school. They are the bags of rice brought by one mother who taught us what true love looks like. Gasps filled the room. And then soft footsteps. The son turned around, and there she was. His mother. Thinner. Grayer. But glowing with quiet pride. And beside her, the teacher who once scolded, now guiding her up the steps. The son ran to her, weeping. He whispered into her shoulder. Why didn't you tell me? She smiled, cupping his face. Because love doesn't always need to be seen. As long as it is felt. The power of letting go. That mother let go of pride. She let go of comfort. She let go of being understood. She let go of needing credit. And in doing so, she freed herself. To love without condition. To give without resentment. To live without expectation. She gave her son not just rice, but an unshakable foundation of courage, humility, and heart. And for those of us watching from afar, she gave something else. A reminder that sometimes letting go of how things should be makes space for how they're meant to be. A mirror for our own lives. Perhaps you, too, have carried bags others couldn't see. Maybe your children never understood the weight of your love. Maybe your sacrifices went unnoticed. Maybe you were criticized, misunderstood, overlooked. But here's what I want you to remember. Nothing done in love is ever wasted. And letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means you choose peace over proof. It means you release the need to be recognized. Because you already know your worth. You don't need applause to be valuable. You don't need validation to be whole. You don't need to hold on to pain in order to honor the past. You are allowed to let it go. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to walk forward with your hands open and your heart light. Because the truth is, sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to stop carrying what was never yours to hold forever. 7. Choose joy, because suffering is not the only way to grow. For many of us, life has been a long road of endurance. We endured childhood wounds we never fully understood. We endured responsibilities no one prepared us for. We endured grief that didn't ask our permission. We endured hardship because we were taught that to survive is to succeed. And it's true, there is a strength that only suffering can shape. But after 50, after 60, even after 70, I want to offer you a different truth. Suffering is not the only way to grow. You are also allowed to grow through joy. You've paid your dues. You've carried burdens. You've earned your wisdom through fire. Now, it's time to come out of the fire. It's time to stop asking life to teach you through pain. It's time to open yourself to a gentler teacher. Joy. Joy is not a luxury. It's medicine. Somewhere along the way, joy became optional. We were told joy is for children, for weddings, for special occasions. We learned to delay it. I'll enjoy myself after the bills are paid, after the kids are settled, after I retire, after I'm no longer needed. But after keeps moving. Joy keeps getting pushed to the bottom of the list. Until one day, we forget how to recognize it altogether. So let's say this clearly. Joy is not a reward. Joy is not a distraction. Joy is not irresponsible. Joy is medicine for the soul. It heals what stress breaks. It softens what bitterness hardens. It restores what sorrow steals. And most importantly, it reminds you that you are still alive. The smallest joys are often the deepest. You don't need a grand vacation or a dramatic life change to experience joy. Sometimes, it looks like a sitting in the sun for 10 minutes with your eyes closed, a hearing the wind rustle through the leaves and remembering childhood, a laughing at a joke you've told 100 times, a lighting a candle just because, a listening to your favorite song and dancing, even if only in your chair, a holding your grandchild's hand in silence. Joy, after 50, becomes simpler, but not smaller. In fact, it becomes more sacred, because now you understand how rare and precious it is. Joy doesn't erase your pain. It doesn't deny your losses. It simply reminds you that you are more than those things. You are still capable of light. You're allowed to feel good again. Sometimes, the hardest part of choosing joy is believing we deserve it. You may wonder, how can I feel happy when others are struggling? How can I enjoy rest when I haven't finished everything? How can I smile when I've been sad for so long? But here's the truth. Your joy doesn't dishonor your past. It honors your survival. You made it through the heartbreak. You carried the weight. You kept going when others would have stopped. Now, you're allowed to lay it down. You're allowed to feel good. You're allowed to feel soft. You're allowed to feel peace. And yes, you're allowed to laugh again. Even with wrinkles. Even with grief in your chest. Even with the unknown ahead. Joy doesn't wait for you to be perfect. It meets you exactly as you are. Joy is a choice, not a circumstance. We wait for joy to happen. We wait for the pain to stop, the people to change, the money to come, the body to heal, the world to improve. But joy is not what happens after life fixes itself. Joy is what happens when you decide to stop waiting. When you choose, even in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, to notice something beautiful. To whisper thank you for no particular reason. To stop scrolling, worrying, comparing and just be here. Breathing. Alive. Enough. the gentle invitation. So here is your invitation. Choose joy. Not once, not for a weekend, but every day in small, soft, stubborn ways. Choose it when you wake up and your body aches but you're still here. Choose it when you sit alone but remember you are never truly alone. Choose it when memories sting but also warm. Choose it not because life is easy, but because joy is your birthright. The life you deserve, right now. You've spent a lifetime tending to others. You've learned, you've lost, you've endured. Now is the time to live what remains not in fear, not in regret, but in joy. A joy that doesn't ask for permission. A joy that walks quietly beside grief. A joy that says, "This moment is mine, and I choose to be here for it." You don't need to wait any longer. You don't need to explain. You don't need to earn the right to feel good. You only need to say yes. To joy. To yourself. To now. If you've stayed with me through all 7 messages, I want to say something very simple but deeply meant. Thank you. Not just for watching. Not just for listening. But for allowing yourself to feel. To reflect. To breathe a little more softly. And to remember that your life this very moment is still sacred. Because the truth is, most people rush through their later years trying to fix what's already behind them. Or fear what's still ahead. But you chose something different today. You chose to pause. You chose to honor what's quiet. You chose to sit with truths that often go unspoken. And in doing so, you've taken the first step towards something many never find. A life that is not measured by time, but by tenderness. Let's walk back through these 7 messages, not as lessons, but as gentle invitations. You don't have to build one more house to prove your worth. You don't have to plant seeds you may never see bloom. You don't have to keep sewing coats when the soul simply wants rest. You are allowed to live for yourself without guilt, without apology. You are free to let go of what you cannot control. You are strong enough to release the stories that no longer serve you. And most of all, you are worthy of joy. Not later. Not someday. Now. If any part of this journey touched something in you, if you found your own life between these lines, if you felt seen, even for a moment, then please, take a soft step forward. Subscribe to this channel. Not just to follow along, but to walk together through more reflections, more stories, more truths that honor where you are in life, and where you still wish to go. And if this message stirred something in you, if a sentence, a memory, a story stayed with you, I warmly invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, which part of this message spoke to you most? What are you ready to let go of? What is one quiet joy you want to reclaim? I promise this is a space where your words will be heard. This is a space for softness, wisdom, and truth. This is your space. And finally, I invite you to explore our other videos, each one crafted with the same care, the same intention. To help you live more gently, more joyfully, more deeply, after 50. Because you're not done yet. Your life is not winding down. It's waking up in a new, wiser way. So from my heart to yours, thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing peace. And may the rest of your life be the most beautifully lived. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you again, very soon.